Hey everybody, this is Halo, and this week I am going to show you how I pack my backpack. I have a friend who is getting ready to do a thru hike, and she was asking me, I guess basically what it is I do when I pack my pack. And so I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick video showing how I go about that. My backpack is the Gossamer Gear Gorilla 40, so it is a 40 liter pack. I think it's just called the Gorilla. It is a 40 liter pack. I got this for my birthday this past year. For a pack liner, I use a trash compactor bag. You can get these fairly inexpensively on Amazon. Now the gear that I have here is what I used to hike the trail at the beginning of November of this year. The weather was around in the 40s. Most of the time it got up to 60 when the sun actually came out, but that was only one day. So anyway, this is what I'm going to use to pack my pack. And if I was starting out the trail this year in March, this is pretty much the same gear that I would start with. Put my sleeping bag in the bottom. I want my heaviest things up against my back. That way it's not pulling me backwards. So my food bag is going to go in next, and it's going to go up against my back. I'll use my puffy to keep it pushed up where I want it. Most of the time I'll keep my sleep clothes in with my sleeping bag in a dry sack. If I am carrying my Jewel 23, it is a larger bag, and sometimes it's harder to get my sleep clothes in there. I don't want to obviously destroy my dry sack. So for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and stick these in with my coat, my puffy, keeping that food bag up against my back. I carry a quarter zip mid layer, and that I use basically only for at camp. If it's really cold out, I might use this when I'm hiking, but only if it's not raining. And again, I just tuck that down next to all the others, keeping that food bag up against my back. Next thing that I'm going to do is put in my sleep pad and my pillow. Now my sleep pad, there's usually a little bit of room to the side of my food bag, and so I will just tuck that down in there. And my pillow, it just tucks in right beside it. I keep the sleep pad pressed up against my back as well with that pillow. I always take a towel, it's just a little bitty lightweight towel that I will use either for wiping condensation off the inside of the tent, or if I've gotten water inside because of the rain or whatever, I'll use that. If it is wet, I will not pack it inside my liner. I'll put it actually up on top. So I just tuck my towel in there. Next, I put in anything that I don't want to get wet, such as my hat, my gloves, and my wool buff. We also have summer buffs that we soak in stuff to wear if it's really hot, but this buff is a smart wool type of a buff, and so I keep it dry, and that's basically for in camp. Next, I go ahead and put in my cook pot with my stove and my fuel. I do not want my first aid kit and my personal bag to get wet. I have ibuprofen, Tylenol, KT tape, Band-Aids, batteries, that kind of a thing in here, extra ponies for my hair. Sometimes I need to get in there, especially when you're hiking and you start to ache, you want to take some ibuprofen. So I keep this up near the top, but it's inside my pack liner still. And lastly, on the inside of my pack, in the pack liner, is my headlamp. I keep it up near the top so that it's accessible, just in case we're hiking towards dark and we need to bring it out. I get that folded down so that water can't get inside easily. Somehow, occasionally it'll manage to find its way in there, but I get it rolled down, tucked down so that it can't get in easily. And then up on the top, I put things like my spoon. I go ahead and keep my toilet paper on the inside of my pack now. I used to keep it in the mesh pocket up in the front, but I found out that My blue bag is not as water resistant as they claimed it was, and my toilet paper got totally soaked our last hike. And that's kind of a depressing thing to use wet toilet paper. So anyway, I keep that inside up here now. The other thing I keep up on the top is my rain pants and my rain jacket. My rain pants are basically a warmth layer, and so I don't usually use this. So if it's going to rain, I might tuck those on the inside to use once I get into camp. But my rain jacket I keep up near the top because you never know when it's going to suddenly downpour. And if rain is expected, I'll actually keep that in the mesh in the front. Great big mesh pocket in the Gossamer Gear Gorilla, and in it I keep things like my water scoop, my hand soap, a little towel for drying off my hands, and my my syringe to backwash my squeeze. I also have like an extra cap for water bottles. I keep my platypus and my Sawyer squeeze inside, my trowel for digging, and I happen to have a bug net. That was not needed at all this last trip. The other thing that I keep inside my mesh pocket are my meals for the day. So I will put in my mid-morning snacks, my lunch, and my afternoon snack will all be right in here so that I can get to them easily without having to get into my main pack if I don't need to. And finally, I just clip on my female urination device. That's what this is. I keep it clipped on the outside of my pack. And of course, I keep my water bottles, one here, one here. I'm able to keep my phone in my hip belt pockets. They're really large, so it works out well. And I'll sometimes keep even a quick bite, a snack, something to help me get up a mountain. And I think that's it. I don't know that I missed anything. I did forget to put in like my map and that kind of a thing, my guidebook pages. Those are downstairs. We're charging up the batteries in my cell phone. That I also keep inside my pack liner. So my battery charger along with the cords and my extra guidebook pages are tucked down inside my pack liner. But I tear out the page that I'm using that day and I keep it in my hip belt pockets.
Okay, just to give a quick update on my weight loss. The middle column should show that I have a 3.6 pound weight loss. I messed up there, but I've lost 10 pounds total in 2 weeks. First week, 6.4 pounds, and this second week, 3.6. I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, I'm trying out voiceover here and see how it works. For this recipe, you're going to need a medium butternut squash. I don't know anything about butternut squash, so we got 2 of them just in case to make sure we had enough. You're going to peel it, seed it, and then cube it and place it on parchment paper. After you have done that, you're going to need 2 medium onions. We only had a giant onion, so we used that one instead. And then you need 4 tablespoons of rosemary. And that's kind of fun to do, peeling it off the stem and chopping it up. Sprinkle that on top of the squash and the onion, and 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and you just kind of mix that all together. You can add sea salt or pepper to taste. Bake it at 400 degrees for 35 minutes. Okay, you're going to need 2 4 to 6 ounce chicken breasts. Cube those, add salt and pepper to taste. On the burner, we've already got our cast iron skillets heating up, and you're going to see that I add 2 tablespoons of coconut oil here in just a minute. When that is done and warmed up, go ahead and throw the chicken in. While the chicken is cooking, you are going to want to grate an apple, and when the chicken is almost done, you're going to add the apple into the skillet, and you're going to cook that until the apple is nice and tender. Then you're going to put in about a half a teaspoon of cinnamon or allspice. You can choose whichever one you want. Now this worked out perfectly that my butternut squash was done, and there you can see our final meal. This was a delicious meal with enough leftovers for both of us the next day. If you are interested in the recipe, I will put that in the description so that you don't have to watch the whole video in order to see what I did. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.